The future of Christian foster carers has been thrown into disarray as homosexual rights conflicted with religious beliefs in a High Court judgment this week. Now, despite a good track record of providing a loving home to vulnerable children, it's not clear whether Owen and Eunice Johns will ever be able to do so again. The sexual orientations regulations, which came into force in recent years, has resulted in a number of high-profile cases where the faith of public sector workers has clashed with the provision of state services. Now, some Christian organisations are questioning whether British courts are the right forum for debating conflicting human rights created by equalities legislation. Now, the woman at the centre of this story, Eunice Johns, spoke to Helen Bart earlier this week.
My husband Owen and myself, we fostered children over 15 years ago. We gave up fostering because we had a business. And in 2007, we decided to apply for fostering again because we enjoyed it so much. We had up to about 15 children here, over the years. We applied to Derby City Council and we started the assessment. We started to go through with the application forms. And while we were going through, we wanted to foster children from the age of 5 to about 8. We had finished our business, we had had a room to give a child, we had love to give a child, so we wanted to. And so we started, and when we were going through the process, we were asked, what would we do if a child of 8 years old comes from school saying they've been bullied because they think they're homosexual? Well, I was taken back because the children at 8 do not really say that, whether they're heterosexual or homosexual. So I was taken back. So I said, well, I don't think a child at 8 would. Well, they told us that children are damaged. A lot of them are damaged. That's why they're in care. And I said, well, okay, if a child, we have a lot of love to give that child. No matter what sex the child is, we are capable of giving them love. And children need love. They need security. They need a home. And we had that. And so that was where she said to me, couldn't you tell a child it was all right to be homosexual? I said, no, I couldn't. I am a Bible-believing Christian. And I couldn't do that.
Can you see why the judgment went against you? Because you describe yourself as a Bible-believing Christian and it's against your beliefs, but in this day and age, it is considered to be discriminatory to show preference one way or the other, in terms of sexuality, and in particular in the line of work of what you wanted to do.
Okay. I don't see why, because it's not that I opposed to taking a child. I never would, no matter what the child is. I wouldn't oppose to taking a child. I would take a child no matter what they are, which I told the social worker. It doesn't matter. Children are children. And anyone. I have to love everyone because God tells us that we have got to love. I don't hate the homosexual. I hate the act. And so I couldn't hate a child. So I really don't see why. I think the law, it went against us because we are Christians. The judge more or less told us that this is no longer a Christian country. Well, we were mistaken for a few years. Well, we were mistaken to think it was that and that we would get, we would get fairness.
If you say you think the law and the judgment went against you because you're Christians, I'm pretty sure the social workers and the judge perhaps would have had the same ruling with anyone of a faith who held those views, whether they were Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu or whatever. I think it was the views, not necessarily the religion. Do you feel it was the religion that was held against you?
Well, it was my religion. And I'll tell you something.
And not the views. You don't see in any way that the views might be considered to be discriminatory?
No, because what? Because I said I am a Bible-believing Christian? Is that what you're saying? Because I said I'm a Bible-believing Christian, I think that went against me?
No, but because you've said that you couldn't tell a child that it's all right
it's all
to be
right
homosexual.
If that went against me, so be it. But, I will not compromise. We have sat, as Christians, we have sat for too long. And so we now haven't got a level playing field anymore. Because I do know that while we were doing the assessment for fostering, we were told that they try to match children up. Okay, what about matching me up with a child that is a Christian child? So I really don't believe it was my views. I do believe it's because I said I was a Bible-believing Christian.
Eunice Johns speaking to Helen Bart there. And Helen also spoke to David Akinsanya, an adoption expert who fosters young children and was himself in the care system until he was 16. Now, he's gay and black and followed the case with particular interest.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't think we're in a position to be turning down people who are obviously experienced foster carers. They've raised their own families. And I don't think we can afford to be turning these people away. I believe that nowadays social services are so sensitive to these kinds of issues that if there was a child where there was a question about their sexuality, they wouldn't be placed with that family. So I actually think that it's a nonsense argument. That's not to say that, if there are kids who have got those issues, that they should be supported and cared for and not put into an environment like that. But there are plenty of kids in the care system for whom their sexuality is not an issue.
It's very interesting that you have this perspective. You are a foster carer. You're also a gay man. You're a gay black man. And in a sense, you're saying you're agreeing with this couple, effectively.
Yeah, well, mainly because I know the desperate need there are for decent carers to be looking after children in the care system. And I firmly believe that a couple like that who have got so much experience, they've even got gay members of their own family which they've talked about who they go and stay with. So I wouldn't be concerned about putting, a particularly macho boy who for whose sexuality is not an issue into a family like that. I mean, they're not saying that they're going to be preaching anti-gay statements. They're just saying that if they had a child there for whom their sexuality was an issue, they wouldn't be the right people to talk to them about it.
But the fact is their views are discriminatory, and this is what the court was saying. I mean, the rules are that those are the rules, and essentially the court had no choice but to say that they couldn't foster.
Yeah, we all have our own discriminations. We all have our own issues with that. And I just think that, there are so many kids out there who need care. These people sound like they've got a lot of experience. They've fostered a lot of kids in the past. I just think there's people playing politics with children's lives. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that when people have come forward and said that they're willing to help and they're willing to support children who are going through difficulties, we're desperate for people to support teenagers. Well, they sound to me like the perfect sort of couple to support teenagers.
Well, they said they would only foster children between the ages of 5 to 8.
And I don't know many 5 to 8-year-olds who have issues with their sexuality. With my own sexuality, it didn't really kind of come about until I was about 11 or 12. So in that respect, I mean, I wouldn't be worried about placing children with them who are younger on a short-term basis. I mean, they are saying that they want to do respite care, which is very different. I mean, they may just have a child for a weekend. And I think to cancel this family out just for that reason is wrong.
Black gay fosterer David Akinsanya speaking there to Helen Bart. So what do you think about the views of Christian carers Eunice and Owen Johns? Are her and her husband well within their rights to decide which morals they impart on the children in their care? Or were the courts right to ban them from fostering? Should experienced, loving families be discounted if they hold views which some people find unpalatable? In the same week that Caribbean-born carers Eunice and Owen Johns were banned from fostering because of their views on homosexuality, an article in the Voice newspaper claims homophobia is widespread within the UK's African Caribbean communities. Now, according to the article, gay black Britons suffer abuse, often from within their own communities. Wayne Simmons from the UK Black Pride group moved here from Jamaica 11 years ago after coming out and fearing what the response to his sexuality might be. And Wayne joins us on BBC Radio Nottingham now. I can imagine that coming out is a particularly difficult experience, regardless of who you are and what background you come from. Is being gay and black even more difficult?
Yeah, it is. It is very difficult because sexuality is a thing that is not being really discussed openly in a black family. And coming from Jamaica, which is one of the most homophobic places on earth, it is hard to be gay in Jamaica. And you are physically, mentally, verbally abused, beaten, people are killed, houses are burnt down. So it is hard to come out and live the life you really want to live, the one that you know how to live. And even so, coming out to your family, it seems like it's going to be maybe a taboo or a disgrace you're bringing down on your family. So it's very hard to live in the black community as a gay person because of, maybe going to use the word, the disgrace that you will bring down on your family.
So was it this discrimination that made you move to Britain in the first place?
No, Being involved in the classroom, that was very hard. Knowing of your sexuality was hard to even discipline somebody who discipline students because of your sexuality, and that would be used against you. Also, if these abuses were reported to the police, they would not even protect you. They sometimes they tend to ridicule you, so you're not even protected. More so, the churches denounce your lifestyle. So, and Christianity plays a very important role in the Jamaican society. And when the church is coming out against you, then they're setting up the entire society against you. There are many people who had they left Jamaica because of their sexuality to seek refuge somewhere else because they cannot survive in Jamaica because of their sexuality.
Having seeked the refuge in Britain and having left Jamaica as you did 11 years ago, does it come as any surprise to you to hear that homophobia is particularly widespread here in Britain in the black communities across the country? Is that any surprise?
No, it's not. It's not, because people tend to move across the world with their culture, and they're not going to leave that behind. And especially what is happening, especially with, and I can look, I'm really now looking on the John's case, what happened there. Apparently, I don't know which Caribbean country they are from, but it seemed like this person grew up in church, and the church preached against homosexuality. And what happened when that happened? People come here still worship in the church, and it is still preached against.
Some people might argue that coming from a Christian background, they're well within their rights to impart their moral values on children in their care. When religion and sexuality collide, is it fair to force religious people like the Johns to compromise their beliefs?
One of the things that's kind of surprising to me, if the Johns, they know about the Equality Act, they know about the laws in this land, and if they wish to be involved in the delivery of a public service, they must be prepared to provide it fairly. And Christians like the John should seek to promote diversity and equality and stop being judgmental. That is what it's here for. And one of the questions I would ask them, if Jesus was on earth, what would he have done? Would he have denounced these people? Would he want to change people's life because of their sexuality, or would he accept them? And I think when it comes on to the church, which has a lot of influence on the Johns, the church needs to sit down and openly discuss sexuality. What they're doing from the public is denouncing it, and it is time for the church to stop it.
So you're glad that a couple that, by the sounds of it, had been good carers, good foster carers, had a good record. You think it's a good ruling that the court has banned them from fostering any more children?
Oh yeah, I agree with the courts. One other thing I'm looking on, if the Johns were so much concerned about providing a safe home for people, for kids, then I don't think they should be in there trying to modify that child or any child's behavior. And one of the things that struck me too, and maybe I'm wrong, but one of the things I'm looking on, although they have done that, I'm wondering if they were motivated so much by money and not by providing a safe home for these children.
Do you think it's part of the responsibility of people that are bringing up children to teach them that sexuality is there's no right or wrong?
I think that is what we should be. We should be open about it. We are in the 21st century that this is accepted by most people, and we need to sit down and we need to say to the kids, this is what is happening. These are the different types of family, and give the child a choice.
So views like the Johns, you think, have no place in modern society? I
don't think it has. It's discrimination. I think it is of the past. I know it's really a thing. It's a taboo. Maybe I use the word taboo in the black community. But I think we need to sit down, and I think that the church has failed where this is concerned. We need to really sit down and discuss sexuality. There are a lot of people, a lot of black guys like me, who are suffering because of our sexuality. We're ridiculed on a daily basis, abused verbally, maybe not physically here, but other places like in Jamaica, people are physically abused because of their sexuality. And the church needs to play a part. And where is the caring church? That is one asking the question, where is the caring church in all of this?